another, and the higher came up last.
Go ahead.
I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great.
Now we're going to find out who this ram is in just a little bit, but go ahead and read some more.
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground.
Go ahead.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
So now we got the ram, and we have the goat as well, and we see where the goat ran into the ram and cast him down and all that. Just dealing with a battle here. And this battle took place in 331 BC between the Greeks and the Medes and the Persians. Go ahead, read on.
Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
Go ahead.
And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
Now I want you to skip down to verse 20, and we're going to just get the interpretation of who this is that we are dealing with. Now we've gone from Babylon to the Medes and the Persians here, and now we are looking for this third king, because we know who the first one is, we know who the second one is, now we're looking for the third one. Go ahead and read.
The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
So now that is the Medes and the Persians. That's who the second one was. Now we're going to look at and find out who the third one was. Who was the third one? Go ahead and read.
And the rough goat is the king of Grecia.
Now we know who the third one is. That is the king of the Greeks. Go ahead and finish that up.
And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
Now that was Alexander the Great. We're not bothered going into all that detail today. But now let's go read something from the last 2 million years here. We read from page 110. We're going to find out who this who followed the Greek Empire. Find me page 110. No, here it is right there. How about that? I'll turn right to it. I just want you to read that right there. Just that one sentence there where it's underlined and read. Go ahead and read.
When they conquered the world of ancient Greece,
who are we reading about the Romans? Go ahead and read.
The Romans absorbed the best of Greek culture.
So now we know who the fourth kingdom is, because they were the ones that conquered the Greeks, and they were the fourth kingdom. Let's go back to the Bible now. Let's go back to Daniel chapter 2, and we'll begin reading at verse 4. Daniel 2, and we'll pick it up at verse 4. Just show you how long the Romans Empire had to be around. Daniel 2 began reading at verse 4. 2 and 4. Okay, go ahead and read.
And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
Now we're reading about the Roman Empire. That's what we're reading about here. Go ahead and read.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings...
Wait a minute, in the days of what kings?
These kings.
In the days of these kings. Who are these kings that we are looking at? The Roman Empire. In the days of these kings. What's going to happen? Go ahead and read.
Shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom?
Shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom? What is the kingdom that the God of heaven going to set up? It is the kingdom of God. What kingdom? The kingdom that Jesus is going to rule over when he returned to this earth. So now that means Rome got to be around until the Lord come to set up this kingdom. Because it said in the days of these kings. And before, you know, you had the Babylonians, the Medes and the Persians and the Greeks. Then you had the Roman Empire. And then it said in the days of these kings will the God of heaven set up a kingdom, because this Roman Empire, it must be around in an alliance of 10 nations when the God of heaven returns. What are those 10 nations? The 10 toes that you saw in that image. Go ahead and read a little bit more.
Which shall never be destroyed.
And once that kingdom be set up, it will never be destroyed. You know, Babylon is gone, right? The Medes and the Persians, they are gone too, right? And the Greeks, they are gone, and Rome is still around, but it's going too, and it's time. When it's time for it to go, it's going. So now, it said, and in the days of these kingdoms will the God of heaven set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. Go ahead and read on.
And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms.
Go ahead.
And it shall stand forever.
And it's going to stand forever. Go ahead and read on.
For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king which shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
Dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof is sure. So this is going to happen, people. You know, just like Babylon came, and the Medes followed them, and the Greeks followed them, and the Romans followed them, the kingdom of God is going to come. The dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof is sure. There will be a kingdom of God established on this earth. History itself proves that out, because everything came in the order that God said it was going to come, didn't it? That means that the kingdom of God is going to follow this Roman Empire here. Let's go now to Daniel chapter 7, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. Daniel 7, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. 7 and 1. 7 and 1. We're going to pick up these same four again. 7 and 1. This time they're represented by animals, by 4 beasts. 7 and 1. Start reading at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed.
Go ahead.
Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. And 4 great beasts came out up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings.
Now we're going to just show you what these beasts represent. Skip down to verse 17. Go ahead and read it.
These great beasts, which are 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth.
So we're not dealing with animals here. What we are dealing with here, we are dealing with 4 kings or 4 kingdoms that would arise out of the earth. What 4? The same one that we put up here. Babylon, Medes and the Persians, the Greeks and the Romans. Those are the 4 that we are dealing with here. Let's go now. Skip down to verse 23. Go ahead and read.
Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth.
Thus he said the 4th beast would be the 4th kingdom up on the earth. Skip down now. Back up, I should say, and pick it up at verse 7, because a religious government came with this 4th kingdom. Go ahead and read. Verse 7.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Go ahead and read.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
Now these horns, they represent governments. And this little horn, it represents a government as well, but it represents a religious government. You know, the first 10, that represented secular government. The little horn, that represented a religious government that we know today as the Vatican, or the Roman Catholic Church. This is the religious government that came with the Roman Empire. So that lets you know this little horn, a lot of people call it today, you know, the Antichrist and all of that. It came with the Roman Empire. Because every time some radical rise up in the Middle East, everybody want to call him the Antichrist. No, he's not coming out of the Middle East. He's coming out of Rome. Go ahead and read a little bit more.
And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and the mouth speaking great things.
Now, let's go to